is January 3rd, 2021, Week 17 of the 2020 NFL regular season. We're at the Link in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Eagles are down 6 with 56 seconds left and need to march 92 yards with no timeouts. The Birds are looking to spoil their rival Washington football team's chances of winning the division for the first time since 2015. But there's something even more important on the line here. Of the more than 16 million people tuned into tonight's game, there are only 12 that we care about. A group of friends banded together by family, football, and beneficence. Tonight is Benny Bowl 9, a brutal match between managers Kelsey Scomer and Michael Makita. The spectacle of this Washington-Philly game is the raucous finale to what would end up as the closest Benny Bowl in BBFL history. This drive will determine the outcome of an entire season of fantasy football, validate the rise of one of these managers, and crush the heart of the other. And it all rests on the shoulders of one Nate Sudfeld. Wait, who the hell is Nate Sudfeld? We need to rewind. Let's start with a woman rooting for Sudfeld. Kelsey Scomer, now Kim, was inducted into the BBFL in 2017 and has spent her first 4 years trying to make a name for herself. Breaking the glass ceiling as the first woman to join the league, some might say she was under a lot of pressure to perform. Kelsey's fresh woman outing ended with a 9-5 record, thanks in part to her dual-threat QB lineup of Dak and Rodgers, tight end Zach Ertz, and a solid season for Marvin Jones Jr., who had 1,100 receiving yards and caught 9 touchdowns. Kelsey won the Division McDivision face and was named BBFL Rookie of the Year, but would fall in the first round of the playoffs to Ian Buchanan, losing by 27 points and finishing 8th overall. Winning one fewer game the next season, Kelsey would finish 8-6 thanks again to Aaron Rodgers and future Brush franchise player Davante Adams, recording 1,386 receiving yards and 13 touchdowns, both career highs at that point. Kelsey was again bounced in the first round of the playoffs, this time to her beau and future husband James Kemp, finishing 6th overall. What was the margin of victory? 27 points. Interesting. Kelsey continued her upward climb in 2019, starting out 2-2 and finishing the season on a 7-3 run to end at 9-5. Kelsey kept Adams, obviously, and drafted the likes of Nick Chubb, who would rush for a career-high 1,494 yards, and Lamar Jackson, who would throw for 3,127 passing yards and 36 touchdowns, while tacking on another 1,206 yards and 7 touchdowns with his legs, breaking Michael Vick's single-season quarterback rushing record and becoming only the second player ever to be unanimously voted MVP. As the number 1 seed, Kelsey finally won her first playoff match by steamrolling Sam King 171-128, before falling in the semifinal to Nick Holmes by only 18 points, finishing 3rd overall. Really narrowing that gap as we go along, aren't we, Kelsey? 2020 was a challenging year, to say the least. Lockdowns, simulation leagues, hashtag never forget the Poke Clippers, backyard baseball. Get out the rye bread and the mustard, Grandma! It's a grand salami! And one of the funkiest NFL seasons ever played. The 2020 BBFL season was no exception, especially for Kelsey. You thought starting 2-2 and finishing 7-3 was impressive? Try starting 1-3 and only dropping 2 the rest of the way. Kelsey's squad boasted talent such as David Montgomery and Mike Evans, but was really bolstered by Davante Adams going 1,374 yards and 18 touchdowns, his second highest and career high, respectively, at the time, and Deshaun Watson passing for a league-leading 4,823 yards and 33 touchdowns, averaging a league-best 8.9 yards per throw.
These days, the only thing Watson's doing more than 30 times a year is being charged as a gross sex pervert.
The 2020 BBFL playoffs were stacked. More than half of the teams were over 500, and 3 had at least 9 wins. Kelsey found herself as the dreaded 5 seed, which to that point had never even made it to the Benny Bowl. Kelsey knocked out the 3rd-seeded Ian and his Mules with relative ease in the first round, winning by 30 off the arm of Watson, the legs of Montgomery, and the standout hands of Brandon Ayuk, despite a 48-point effort by Ryan Tannehill for Ian. Kelsey took revenge on her future forever roommate James in the semifinal, putting him away 182-130, thanks again to Watson and 2 40-plus point performances from Adams and Evans. Kelsey was just 1 week away from eternal glory, but one man stood in her way, another manager looking for their first ever BBFL championship. one whose journey to this moment was less meteoric and certainly more painful to follow than Kelsey's. Michael Mikita was inducted as part of the BBFL's infamous class of 2015, and unfortunately got off to a slow start. He started off his freshman campaign strong, beginning the season 5-1 before dropping the next 6 in a row. Finishing out 6-8, Mikita's team boasted the talents of Phillip Rivers, old school Julio Jones, and DeAndre Hopkins. Sneaking into the playoffs as a 7 seed, Mikita would be ousted in the first round by eventual Benny Bowl 4 winner Ian, finishing 8th overall. Mikita started off hot once again in 2016, winning the first 3 matches in a row before losing in a rematch against Ian that would spark a 4-game slide. After winning only one of his next 3 games, Mikita rattled off 4 wins to finish out and secure his first winning season at 8-6. Mikita was kept afloat by the work of Aaron Rodgers and Devonta Freeman leading a squad, which is good enough to net him the infamous 5 seed. Now the thing is, Mikita in the playoffs is like poetry,
so if they rhyme.
And the Unicorns fell in the first round once again. This time, the Bryce Buchanan of House Starks, 134-140, finishing 7th overall. Mikita continued his upward climb in 2017, once again winning the first 3 games of the season, then proceeding to lose 5 of the next 6. He would recover though, winning the next 4 in a row, including his first ever matchup against Kelsey, and finish 8-6. Mikita would pull the 3 seed in a first round matchup against James, finally getting the Stallion off his back with a 119-105 win. In the semifinal, Mikita would lose to eventual runner-up Ethan Leach, 117-64, finishing 4th overall in the league. And that's when the floor fell out. For all the work that Mikita had put in, for all the clawing and scraping he did after every losing streak, none of it mattered. The Unicorns would finish the next 2 seasons at the very bottom of the BBFL, netting 7 total wins over those 2 years. What happened to the Unicorns? Nobody's sure, but it was hard to watch. And that brings us to 2020, a truly miserable year in the cosmic sense. But not for Mikita and his Unicorns. Mikita dropped the season opener to Sam, then won the next 6 in a row with a point differential of plus 200, and won 4 of the next 7 to finish out 10-4. Bolstered by Kyler Murray throwing for 3,971 yards and 26 touchdowns, along with Alvin Kamara, James Robinson, Austin Eckler, Myles Gaskin, Justin Jefferson, and Darren Waller, it looked like the stars were finally aligning for Mikita. For his efforts in 2020, Mikita would win the scoring championship, as well as being awarded the Manager of the Year and Most Improved awards from the league. But there's still one piece of hardware Mikita was looking for: the cups. Receiving the number 2 seed, Mikita faced Nick in the first round, and the Unicorns caught fire. Murray threw for 406 yards and 4 total touchdowns. Waller went off on the Chargers for 150 yards and a touchdown. And despite stellar performances from Dalvin Cook, David Johnson, and Marvin Jones Jr., Mikita was able to put away Nick 148-133. The semifinal saw Mikita take on BBFL pariah, whom he quietly took out behind the shed and said a final goodnight to with a final score of 196-125. Thanks mostly to the 155-yard, 6-touchdown night Alvin Kamara had against Minnesota. Finally, after years of brilliance gave way to years of pain, Mikita and the Unicorns were 1 game away from immortality. But you know what they say.
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Only 1 matchup remained for Mikita to break that curse, and it was gonna be one hell of a Sunday. Today's the day. As the 1 o'clock games kick off, 4 of Kelsey's 9 players take the field, while Mikita fields 3. Every BBFL member is eagerly watching, ready to see who will take home the cups this year. But none were prepared for this season's finale, the closest Benny Bowl in league history. How good of a matchup are we talking about? See for yourself. It's the closest thing we can call a halftime for a Benny Bowl championship, and Makita leads Kelsey 56-47, thanks to big outings from Justin Jefferson, Myles Gaskin, and Juju Smith-Schuster. As we move on to the late games, Kelsey is starting the final 5 members of her squad, while Makita will be playing all but one of his remaining 6 players. Prepare yourself, there's even more drama ahead.
Miss!
You may have noticed a lack of highlights from the Unicorns QB, Kyler Murray. That's due to an ankle injury Murray suffered during the Cardinals' opening drive. He would return in the fourth quarter, but was clearly hobbled and couldn't do anything to help slow the Rams. Kelsey had her final score, 152 to Makita's 132. All that was left was to embrace the Monday morning loss of productivity that is Sunday Night Football and buckle in for the NFC least season finale, Washington at Philly, with the only slot left to play Makita's defense special teams of the Washington football team. Due to the way scoring works for DST squads, the unit in question will automatically get 15 points at kickoff, 7 points for allowing 0 points to be scored, and 8 more points for allowing less than 100 total yards. Your squad then has points taken away the more points scored or total yards gained, but also score points back for interceptions, forcing fumbles, etc. We'll get into those specifics later. As of 8:19 p.m. Eastern Time, the score in Benny Bowl 9 is Kelsey 152, Makita 132. When Dustin Hopkins kicks off to the Eagles at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time, the score is Kelsey 152, Makita 147. We've got some ground to cover. 4:09 left in the first quarter. Eagles at the ball, down 7. Jalen Hurts is looking for Zach Ertz, who's shoved off his route, and the easy pick is made by Cameron Curl. Kelsey 152, Makita 150. Early in the second quarter, Hurts is sacked by Chase Young on a failed RPO. Kelsey 152, Makita 151. 3rd and 1 from the Washington 6, Hurts fakes a handoff, rolls to his right, jukes Jeremy Reeves, and strolls into the end zone. Kelsey 152, Makita 146. Later that quarter, Hurts has another 3rd down and long situation. He steps up, sends one deep, and finds JJ Arcega-Whiteside that took the Eagles' offense over the 100 total yardage mark. Less than a minute later, Hurts walks it in from 6 yards out for another touchdown. Kelsey 152, Makita 142. Down 10 at the half, and with their season slipping away, Makita and the Eagles are in need of a savior. One they receive in Nate Sudfeld. See? I told you we'd get back to him. California native Nathan Michael Sudfeld found himself as the backup QB at Indiana University as a true freshman in 2012, playing in relief for replacement starter Cameron Kaufman after Trey Roberson broke his leg in a game against Massachusetts. Nate would split time with Roberson his sophomore year and end up throwing for 2,523 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. With Coffin and Roberson transferring in 2014, Sudfeld was set for a breakout year until a shoulder injury in a game against Iowa needed surgery and ended his season. In the summer 2015, Nate would attend the Manning Passing Academy, which may or may not have led him to throw for 3,573 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions that year. The Hoosiers would finish 6-6 with some surprisingly narrow losses to number 1 Ohio State, number 10 Iowa, and number 15 Michigan, and secured their first bowl game since 2007. Nate would face off with Duke in the Pinstripe Bowl, a game the Hoosiers would eventually lose in overtime, 44-41. Hold on, can we go back to that for a sec? IU kicker Griffin Oakes puts this one perfectly over the upright, which during my research taught me that a ball going directly over the upright is non-reviewable, but passing on either side of the upright is. Seriously? Am I saying the Hoosiers were robbed? Not necessarily. It's just interesting. Anyway, Nate Sudfeld would be drafted 187th overall in the 2016 NFL Draft, getting scooped up in the 6th round by the Washington. Later that year, on my 21st birthday, Nate would sign a 4-year, $2.5 million contract with play third string behind Kirk Cousins and Colt McCoy. After riding the pine all 16 games, the would waive Sudfeld, who would then get picked up by their NFC least rival, Philadelphia Eagles. And fast forward to tonight. In the first half of tonight's game, Hurts completed 38% of his passes, threw for 65 yards, and rushed for 27 more and 2 touchdowns, along with 1 interception. Not great. The third quarter, 2 for 7 through the air and 7 yards on the ground. Abysmal. Honestly, the most interesting thing Hurts would do tonight is narrowly avoid being crushed by falling Washington fans as he exited the field. So, when the fourth quarter started, Eagles head coach Doug Peterson decided to trot out tonight's quote-unquote savior, Nate Sudfeld. According to all known laws of fantasy football, there's no way a Nate Sudfeld should be champion. His wings are too small to get his 6'6" body off the bench. The Sudfeld, of course, plays anyway, because Sudfelds don't care what fantasy managers think is impossible. Peterson's decision to bench Hurts baffled many, including the NBC Sports crew, and pissed off a lot of Giants fans and players, whose team would have won the division with a Washington loss. Peterson would later deny that he benched Hurts in the hopes of tanking, though losing the game would move Philly up from the 9th overall pick to the number 6. So who knows? Anyway, let's see if this bee can fly. Eagles get the ball back with under 10 to play, and Sudfeld proceeds to fumble the snap, biff the recovery, and it's scooped up by Chase Young for Washington. Kelsey 152, Mikita 149. With more than half the quarter gone, Dustin Hopkins kicks a 42-yard field goal to put the football team back up by 7. If Mikita, and by extension Philly, want to mount a comeback, this is the time to do so. 6 and some change left in the game. Sudfeld is sacked on first down by Montez Sweat for a loss of 13 yards. Then again by Jonathan Bostic on third down. Those 2 sacks make it Kelsey 152, Mikita 151.
Okay, hold on. Just a sec. Hey, hi. Editing Bay Ethan here. Gotta stop the film for a minute. Look, I'm gonna level with you. I know that the Eagles have 192 yards of offense to this point. How do I know that? I've done the math multiple times. Like, just look at this shit. I spent over an hour last night trying to redo the math because I thought I screwed everything up. I know the final yardage the Eagles will have, and I can backtrack using play-by-play. But how I got to exactly 192 yards and Mikita having 151 points isn't easy to explain. I don't know how and when ESPN updates yardage versus subtracting yardage for sacks, and how penalties factor in, if at all, so just trust me on this one, okay? Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks. Back to the movie.
The football team proceeds to bleed the clock, which brings us back to this moment. But we're not concerned about a touchdown, nor the Eagles, nor Washington for that matter. On that January night in 2021, the BBFL was looking at one spot, the Philadelphia 16-yard line. The Eagles, pitifully, had put together only 192 total yards of offense to this point tonight. Both Mikita and the Eagles are running out of time to mount a comeback. One final aside. All fantasy leagues are special little snowflakes that determine their scoring rules in their own little ways. Here's a short list of relevant BBFL DST scoring rules in no particular order. Pick 6, 6 points. Scoop and score, 6 points. Sack, 1 point. Interception, 3 points. Fumble recovery, 3 points. Forced fumble, 1 point. Safety, 2 points. We now return to your normal broadcast. Backed up to their own 8-yard line, with no timeouts, trailing by 7, the football team DST unit has about the best chance all season. Hell, maybe in all BBFL history to win a championship. If the football team were somehow to secure an interception, or recover a fumble, or score a safety, not only would they be in prime position to win or tie this game, both scenarios that grant them a playoff berth, it would also give Makita the final push he needs to retake the lead, and conceivably win Benny Bowl 9. And if there's anything to be said about Washington's defense tonight, it's that this is a very possible outcome. With so much on the line for both the football team and the Wizards, this could truly go either way. Will Benny Bowl 9 be a comeback for the most unlikely of victors? Can the newcomer cement her name in the annals of BBFL history? How will this finish affect the future of expansion teams in the BBFL? Normally, this is where I'd say welcome to a moment in BBFL history. But this is more than a single moment. It's a culmination of damn near a decade of fantasy football. Before the season began, Commissioner Kim declared that 2020 would be a year dedicated to celebrating the contributions and achievements of the Expansion 6 teams, who came out this year to show that they are here to stay. The last BBFL expansion was in 2017, and there hasn't been a season where all 6 members of either the original or Expansion 6 made it to the playoffs. Even with that parity, and having the 2018 and 2019 regular season championships won by Expansion 6 teams, no expansion team has yet to win a scoring championship, nevertheless the Benny Bowl. All of this is to say that legends will be created and destroyed in the next 56 seconds of game clock. It's not quite a moment, so here's this. Welcome to the most important drive in BBFL history. First and 10, and the football team brings the blitz. Sudfeld backs into his end zone and finds Greg Ward before any real danger for a 6-yard pickup. 198 total yards of offense. Second and 4. Washington brings less pressure this time, and Sudfeld rolls to his right. With no options, he throws it away. Still 2 yards away from 200, Sudfeld again has time to make his looks, and tries to force one short and behind to Boston Scott. Per Al Michaels.
Oh, what is that?
We've made it. 4th down and 4. 2 short of 200 yards of offense. 1 point is the margin in Benny Bowl 9, with 1 play left to decide it all. Now I can finally say it. Welcome to a moment in BBFL history.
4th down.
Kelsey 152, Makita 147, and the rest is history.